Mm-hmm.
Alright. Start by saying all praises to Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Hashem
Hashem,
Yahweh
Yahweh
Shai,
Shai,
Hashem
Hashem,
Harakal
Harakal,
Kadash,
Kadash,
the
the
mourners
wonders
of
of
the
the
apostles
apostles
and
and
elders
elders
of
of
great
no
millstone
stone
of
of
all
all
well,
well.
and
And
shalom
Shalom,
to the hopeful elect.
Shalom, Shalom.
Shalom. Right, we're going to get into the book of Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. When I read it, you can break it down. I'll jump in here and there. But this is one of the greatest breakdowns, one of the, bread and butter kind of breakdowns in this truth. And the main reason is because the sign, alright? And the sign is like a standard, alright? A banner that will, Jake will see and inquire. It will set the ball in motion kind of thing. Whereby, as the book of Matthew, what is going on with my pronunciation? The book of Matthew, the 13th chapter will come into effect about, the sowing of the seed, the word and hearing. So, the sign is a pivotal thing. And then you have some people talking about it's not this, it's not that, but they don't offer an alternative, all right? They really just taking away and adding to the word. So, let's get start off. So, it's the book of Ezekiel 37 and 1. The hand of the Lord Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord Yahweh to set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones.
Yeah. And that valley, to start with, a valley is a low land, will be one of the lowest points, inland, where it's usually between, hills or mountains. So that valley is talking about America, because why America is a low land in all manners and facets. Whether it be, morally low, whether it's like, the diets of the people, the mindset, pushing out certain agendas. A lot of backwards things are basically being pushed through America, and that's all these things, bring everyone down to a low level, man. That's why it's like, I remember I watched a YouTube video just going around interviewing random Americans, and it would just like, they'll bring out a map and just say, oh, can you point out certain things on the map, or they'll just ask them like general knowledge questions, and most of them would just give up. They wouldn't even be able to guess. So it's like them, they're all kinds of ground down, man.
And the minds and the view of everyone around the world about America is the same in line with what you just said. Everyone looks down to America, kind of look at them like, what kind of crazy people are these? So let me read this precept. This is the book of Psalms 23 and 5, or 4, sorry. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff comfort me.
Yeah, because why it's that valley of the shadow of death, that's America. Because why? Death is something that is basically on Jake's back at all times. And really that's been how it is since they were taken over there. They ain't really had no rest or no peace. And it's really at the point where they really need to be like, yo, pray and be like, yo, let me just make it to morning. Then after the morning, just be like, yo, let me just make it to evening, and then whatever. Because there's all kinds of madness that goes down. There's, could get into a fucking car pile up. You could get hit by stray bullets. Someone could fucking shank you in the chest for your, for your iPhone on the way home. You could step in a guy's sneakers, and he might suplex you into the earth and you shoot you 7 times. There's all forms of death and destruction that basically coming against Jake.
I knew it would go. What's funny, that's the spirit as well.
Oh,
Where the story I was about to say. I'll read the scripture and I'll say the story, so you know where it's the spirit. Deuteronomy 28 and 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not eventually set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. Her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young that cometh out between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them in one of all things. But the guy needs to the point. I was going to mention I knew a girl went primary school with. You know which girl I'm talking about. Oh, you will know as we go on.
I already said. I was like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Oh, you were thinking the same? That's the spirit.
That's why I said that.
Okay. Yeah, she's a girl steps on her foot, stabbed her in the chest. She died. And she was 16, 17 at the time. And that girl's been in prison since then, man. So
funny as hell.
Yeah, but she was like, when you look at it, man, I feel sorry for her because she was just not all the way there, man. Bitch threw scissors at me, man. I'm lucky I ain't blind, man. In school, they took me out. My reflex was like, yo, this bitch made me blind, man.
I was thinking as well, there's another story.
I won't even say what I did to her because when I had that time,
but thingy, there was a girl that stabbed like her mum, I think it was like 150 times or something.
Fucking hell, man.
I'm just like, I'm like, bro, that's the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well jump back on Ezekiel.
Yeah. Yeah, let me just read it. I found it. So it's Deuteronomy 28 and 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and thou shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, will the Most High, it were even. And at evening thou shalt say, would the Most High, it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. So I'm just speaking the sight,
yeah, but that's how really is. It's basically down to where you do need to be praying to the Most High that you're gonna make it through the day.
Yeah.
That's our code.
James, if the Lord will, that we will go here. If the Lord will, he said, say no more. Mm-hmm. That when I do this and I do that, but say if the Lord will. So back in the book of Ezekiel 37, verse 2, right? So it reads, and caused them to pass by round about, and behold, there were very many in an open valley, and lo, they were very dry.
Bones were dry as hell. And they were very dry because why? Because they'd basically been completely drawn out of the way of understanding.
I'll read this. Proverbs 21 and 16. The man that wandereth out the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead.
Yeah, so that's basically the state that Jake was in, man. Because in Bones, it's talking about Jake, the valley, the low. It's talking about America. It's like the Jake in America. They were in that deprived, dehydrated, dry state,
malnourished,
completely divorced from any form of understanding. And I'll read this. Revelation 11 and 8. And it says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. And yeah, that's like we're saying why it's a low land, because why a good example is that spirit of Sodom, man. Because they basically pursue all the things that they pursued in Sodom, all forms of backwards ways of men dealing with each other, working that which is unseemly. And then if taking it even further beyond, destroying what saying a man can be a woman can be a man, or you can be nothing, you can just be a blob floating in space. Mm-hmm. But then what these things that's the spirit of the place. And it says where also our Lord was crucified, because as well with Yahushua's image been thoroughly destroyed. But it's that's where them dead bodies were, lacking in understanding.
I got a precept which reads John 4 and 13 and 14. Yahushua answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again, but whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst, but the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life.
Yeah, that's what's gonna go into, because a key facet, a key portion of like you know, of what's gonna give you that hydration is gonna be that it leads to salvation, and it leads on to, you know, getting into the kingdom.
All right. Verse 3. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord of power, Yahweh, thou knowest.
Yeah, so the bones are in such a state of disrepair that they it basically like just has to be the Lord that has to take you out of that state, because that's the same thing. Is the Lord can put you in that state, the Lord can take you out, and that's really how real it is. Because as far as it's like any brother, like the vast majority of brothers that came into the truth, they're off in the world, a dry ass bone, not knowing what the hell's going on, doing all forms of nonsense in the world, you know, without any form of structure or understanding of the truth. But then, you know, brothers came from that state, and then through, you know, through the Spirit, through receiving hydration and moisture, then can come to a state of understanding, man, and being able to get into the point of being able to teach the scriptures.
Okay, I've got a few precepts. So there's a book of Deuteronomy 32 and 39. It says, See now that even I am he, and there is no power with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever. If I whet my glittering sword, and mine hand take hold of judgment, I will render vengeance to mine enemies and reward them that hate me.
Yeah, that's it's basically down to the Lord. He can judge how you know you're going to be dealt with. Because there are those that they're going to have mercy on, they're going to be given understanding. Those that aren't, man. That's the difference between the elect and the 2/3.
Another one, Romans 4 and 17. As it is written, I have made thee a father of nations before him whom he believed, even the Most High, who quickeneth the dead and calleth those things which be not as though they were.
Yeah. So it's basically that's the spirit that quickeneth. It comes from the Most High. That's basically how you're going to be quickened out of that state of death. For you to be brought back, that has to be something that you receive from the Most High. And that's where, you know, the brother mentioned that when we kicked off about the sign, that plays a part in it as well. You go through the what you call it, go through the chapter, and it will go into it. Yeah, go on.
What I was even gonna say, it just escaped me. Bear with me one moment. It was on the tip of my tongue, man. I knew this would happen. Yeah, let me just grab this precept and it'll come to me. Damn.
You go on, just continue.
Yeah, no. I got the. There's a point I was gonna say. It's just like,
I'm gonna come to you. What should we read down here?
no, I just read on in Ezekiel.
No, reread the verse and see if it comes back and just continue.
Yeah. It's probably gonna do that. And caused me to pass by them. Verse 3. So like, and he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord, power, thou knowest. Right? And oh, that's the point. When Yahushua died, you had basically the Holy of Holies was rent into even the temple. And basically, what did you have? You had many come out of their graves and walk. They were given life again. So that showed, how did that happen? What happened? What did the people that didn't believe say And these are non-believers. They didn't believe in Yahweh Shai. They were mocking him. Say, thou can save other people. Why can't thou save us thyself? They said, surely this is the Son of the Heavenly Father. Alright, because they saw the things that happened, was bewildered by it. But that shows you the power of the Heavenly Father. Alright? Verse 4, again he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh. And thus saith the Lord power unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live.
Wait, read again. Didn't you miss?
No, I read from verse 4.
Okay, read verse 4 again.
Yeah, that's where I stopped. Again he saith unto me, prophesy upon these bones. And he said unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh.
Okay, yeah. So the prophecy, that's a key part. And that's something that, you can do it like we're doing now in the room. But the key part is doing it on the streets, doing it basically to the faces of Jake. And it's through that word, that's how, the nourishment, the sustenance to get them out of that dry, dehydrated, cracked ass bone. If you've seen a dry ass bone, it's like you have like a fucking I remember I watched this. I think it's Planet Earth, where they go into the vultures in the desert. They'll lift up some dry ass bones and just drop them on the ground from like 50 feet high and shit,
so they could eat
to crack them apart,
Yeah.
because it's dry as hell. It's the only way they're gonna get some sustenance out of that shit. Them bones ain't good for nothing, for no one. That's why it's like the creeping things of the desert, man. But that's it. That's what the prophecy, the word. It's by hearing of the word. That's how they're gonna have the transformation take place.
About a precept, Ezekiel 2 and 5. And they, whether they will hear, I'll start from 4. No, I'll carry on actually. Whether they will hear, whether they will forbear, for they are a rebellious house, yet shall know that there have been a prophet among them.
Yeah, that's basically how cold it is. It's like you're gonna have to push a word out there. However it's received, that's down to the spirit. It's whether it's gonna work with them to get the understanding or not, and they're gonna be deafened and blinded and cast into outer darkness.
Verse 6. And thou, son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words. Though briars and thorns be with thee, and thou dost dwell among scorpions, be not afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. And thou shalt speak my words unto them, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are most rebellious. And the point being is that it said, be not dismayed at their looks. How can you be dismayed at their looks? How can we right now be dismayed at your looks? Anyone that's watching this? Can't be, man. The only way that can happen is if we go out on the highways and byways and we confront you face to face and make our face hard against your face. Anyone that comes up against his word. Alright? Verse 30, verse 30, verse 5. Thus saith the Lord power unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live.
Yeah, and that breath is the pure understanding of the truth. And that's the only thing that can basically give you life. Because like we read earlier, Proverbs 21:16, if you wander out of the way of understanding, then you're in a congregation as the dead. The only means by which you can be alive is to have that understanding, that pure understanding of the truth.
Go on precept, Genesis 2 and 7. And the Lord Yahweh, that Lord Yahweh formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul.
Yeah, that's the means by which you become a living soul, man. You need that breath within you. If you don't have the breath, then you're just like as a beast, man. You're moving like for you, and you see a dog, you see a cow, you see a fucking horse galloping. you're in the same level because you're basically dealing with things in a base manner, man. Because you don't have the means by which to separate yourself to deal, as a living soul. You're gonna get thingy as well.
Yeah.
Sirach.
When is it grab? Because you mentioned
Oh, thingy.
Ecclesiastes.
Yeah.
We ain't touch the scripture in a minute. I said I'm not gonna just go. Yeah, see it's here. So this is Ecclesiastes 3:18 and 19, and it reads, "I said in mine heart concerning the state of the sons of men, that the Most High might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts." For that,
Yeah. Well, a good example of that is being manifest is with Nebuchadnezzar, man. Being made to go out and break and eat the grasses of the ground, like being put on a B-style level, and that's how how real the shit is, man. Because the Lord basically can take the understanding away to where they're dealing on that level, and it's like you can read. I remember you read the 30th tribe about Esau, his prominent ancestors, what they were doing up in them caves. They were doing things on the border of fucking insanity, man. There's a reason why they don't, they're not trying to deal with, being Caucasian. They're just trying to be white.
yeah, white. Verse 19, "For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts, even one thing befalleth them, as the one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they have they have all one breath, so that a man have no preeminence above a beast for all his vanity." Yeah, they don't have the breath of life. They just have the breath of carnal life, right? The breath of them to live life upon the earth, but not of life from the Heavenly Father. So I read Sirach, I've got another precept after that. Sirach 17, and I'll start from verse 5. 7. "They received the use of 5 operations of the Lord, and in the 6th place he imparted
Well,
them."
you need to call the scripture as well.
Oh, Salakia. Sirach 17 and 5. "They received the use of the 5 operations of the Lord, and in the 6th place he imparted them understanding, and in the 7th speech, an interpreter of the
Cogitations thereof.
cogitations thereof."
Yeah,
It's
so
one of them words, man.
that's why it's like you got the 5 senses, but then what the 6th is what the understanding, and that's what takes you beyond that beast state, and then as well the 7th speech, being able to talk, and these are things that set you apart. And that's the thing is understanding. That's something that's like few and far between in the land now. Now people are well versed in darkness, in destruction, in confusion, in absolute lack of understanding. That's what is at a prominent height now. You're gonna talk to someone now, they're gonna talk about, just a 7 billion-year-old planet that's spinning round just in space, just a meaningless speck of dust in the universe. I'm like, yo, well, Esau is a meaningless speck of dust in the universe. He's gonna serve his role and then be done. But that whole mindset, that's basically because what they're versed in the realms of Esau, of his society. When you start bringing out the truth, people are gonna be fanning a hand, man. They ain't trying to hear it. You try and tell someone, these alphabet people or the judge them according to the scriptures, they're gonna think you're backwards, like I'm fucking people with a mere waist.
We've evolved past that.
You fucking with progressed. That word is
I know you think a Cockney person would say that.
Yeah, progress.
You say fucking progress.
Oh, you
Fuck my
fucking
ass,
what?
bro.
But that's why it's like with Esau's whole mindset is like if you know, if you're making progress, then it's like you're meant to be getting onto a higher plane. But really, you know, what is this so-called progress, man? All kinds of, and bruv, if eaters are eating fucking burgers made out of shit and flies and dead bodies. Like, is that progress? Does that make any fucking sense?
They'll say, yeah, because you don't get poisoned by it.
But that's why
That's the reason why you couldn't do it before, but now you can.
But that's what, yeah, that's what you hear people say, like, oh, you know, back when that's why I even say about eating raw meat. They say, oh, you know, you didn't have to understand. I'm like, bro, it's like, what is it, puffer fish, where you have to fucking like carve around. There's like barely any of the puffer fish you can actually eat. You eat the wrong bit, you're gonna get fucking poisoned and die. Remember watching an episode of fucking CSI on that shit where they put the poison part of the blowfish in, and the guy just fucking, his heart just stopped. I'm like, bro, what the hell are you risking your life to eat? It's just like if someone has a peanut fucking allergy and they're just, you know, gonna suck on a chocolate peanut and be like, I'm gonna suck it down just before I get the feeling. Like, why even risk it?
Let's get back into the scriptures. So Rock 17:6, counsel and a tongue and eyes, ears, and a heart gave he them to understand. Withal he filled them with the knowledge of understanding and showed them good and evil.
Yeah, and that's like now we're getting, we've received spectacular education as far as evil goes, and that's why it's like what's different from back in the garden as well, because at that time, you know, the sons of Adam, they had received the, you know, the understanding of wickedness that needs to come, and then that's how the Lord had it go down. Was basically like, we're gonna learn about wickedness, you know, through the period of time, and then at the end, then what? We're gonna be perfected, and we're gonna be able to execute judgment perfectly, knowing evil and good, because we're gonna have those new bodies. We're gonna be renewed. We're gonna have the laws put in our inward parts, so we're basically gonna be able to move perfectly.
Right, Wisdom of Solomon 7:24, 24 and 5. For wisdom is more moving than any motion. She passed from God through all things by reason of her pureness. For she is the breath of the power of the Most High, and a pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore can no defiled thing fall into her.
Yeah, straight. That breath, that truth, that's it's basically perfected, and that's why once we receive that on our insides, it's done. It's a wrap. All we're going to be able to do is do righteousness.
And that's why if you're not of this faith, if you're not of this walk, part of the elect, as the book of John, I can't remember what John it is, but it says they went from us because they were not of us. And that's it. Because the spirit of truth won't, but
it didn't take root.
Yep. Ezekiel 37 and 6. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am the Lord.
Yeah, them sinews. That's the part that binds together, like the bones and the flesh. It's, you know, used for grafting everything together. And them sinews coming together, that's basically showing, you know, Jake coming together as one, you know, basically realizing they're all being oppressed and basically gathering together to try and attain and achieve, you know, something within Esau's system. Okay, read it again.
Verse 6, and I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and will cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh.
Okay, yeah. So continue on then.
Verse 7, so I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking.
Yeah, because, you know, prophecy is key. Again, that's how there's, you know, the breath can enter into them. And it says what as well? The noise happened. Because why? Because all these different nations of Jake, because that's when Jake was still split. The northern kingdom, you know, Ephraim and 10 tribes, and then southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, they'll basically come together, and Judah's ahead. It says in the scripture, I'll save the tents of Judah first. Judah's the one that's going to raise up. So then when Judah was basically raising up, trying to build a form of identity, basically trying to gain some form of a place within Esau's world, then the same thing happened with the other tribes as well. They also tried to follow after. And then the noise is like in the 1969 to 1970 when Elder Abba Bivin started bringing the truth out. And then it's from, well, I say started bringing it, the truth had been coming out before. It was really then when it started to take hold. And that's basically how it started building up to, Israel knowing their identity. And that's basically been built upon to this day. And it's from that point there's been that difference. Because even then it's like all the different, whilst Jake was trying to raise up within all these different organizations and identities, they were basically, some that were sincere but lost, some that didn't know what the hell was going on, some that were malicious, some that were, selling them out and whatnot, man, setting them up to fail.
Well, precept. 1 Corinthians 4:9. For I think that the Most High have set forth us, the apostles, last, as we were appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men.
Yeah, basically with that's how the truth's gonna come at the end. Because it's like once the truth's there, then that's it. Everything's ready to wrap up. Because as far as for the word's gonna go out, what needs to accomplish is sealing the elect. Once the elect's sealed, everything's done out here. There's no form of salvation through any other channel. Begun.
Alright, so Ezekiel 37.
We'll do 7 again and then go into 8.
Alright. 37 and 7. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied there was a noise, and behold a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone.
Yeah, to read 8.
Let me even get a precept of bone to his bone.
Yeah, no,
you're going to go into it? Alright,
just
cool.
Read 8 first.
Yeah.
And then do it all in one go.
Alright then. Verse 8. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, and there was no breath in them.
Yeah, because the bone to his bone is basically, Jake coming together. Because bone on my bone, flesh on my, well, the brother's going to get the precept of talking about, that's about kin. And that's how, Jake's coming together, bone to bone. And then, like it says, the sinews and the skin, that was some form of identity, the black or American Indian or, Mexico, all these different names that the various tribes put themselves under. But then it said what? There was no breath in them. Because why? They didn't have the truth. So because they didn't have the pure understanding, they were calling themselves after other things. And that's the key ingredient that's missing. Because they're trying to raise up. But then, because they don't know who they are, they don't realize the curses are working against them. And that's the main thing frustrating any cause they're trying to do. There's curses working against them. We're going to get the...
Yeah, so this is Genesis 29 and 14. And Laban said to him, surely thou art my bone and my flesh, and he abode with him the space of a month.
Yeah, bone and my flesh. So, relatives.
Adam spoke of the same thing in dealing with Eve as well.
Yeah. Continue on
Ezekiel. I've got a bad habit for leaning super forward, man. Ezekiel 37 and 9. So it reads, then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord, power, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live.
Yeah. So that breath, basically.
Let me read on actually, because it goes in. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood up on their feet, an exceeding great army. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so prophecy, that's the main thing that's gonna bring that breath. Because it says as well, the breath basically coming into them, man, and that's waking up to the truth, and that's received through prophecy, through basically going out on the streets and then talking to them and then dealing with them, and then that's how the understanding can be delivered onto them. But the internet basically magnified that as well and took it to a different kind of level, because that's where it's like before that point it just been on the streets, but then when it came onto the internet, then it went global, it went all round, blew up exponentially.
I got a precept. Revelation 7:1. And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And this wind is different from the breath of the Heavenly Father. This wind is talking about the destruction of World War III, the day of the Lord, culmination of all these things, Jacob's trouble hour, temptation. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them that were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
Yeah, so it's like it's going to say further down in Ezekiel 37 about how the basically the key thing that's basically going to come from this understanding is what, understanding the truth, being sealed, and then being saved and getting into the kingdom, because that's more or less what this thing, this word going out, this prophesying going out, these bones being rejuvenated is about, is receiving the truth, receiving a word, and then basically getting saved and going into the kingdom, man. And that's where the destruction takes part. It's being held off. Get into it after a bit, but it's only being held off because
you got that.
the what do you call that? It's only being held off until the elect sealed, and then it's a done deal. Romans 10:17 it says, "So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Most High." And that's it. It's hearing of the word, and that's what you have in what is it? Is it Isaiah 6 about who will go out and deafen them and blind them? It basically says like shut their ears and close their eyes.
Isaiah 6, yeah. Made their ears heavy.
Yeah, it is. I think eyes heavy and something.
Eyes heavy and the ears fat. Yeah.
So they basically can't, because of why? So they can't hear the word and be converted and be healed. Because that's what's going to happen. If you're taking a word of understanding, that's all that can happen. You can be converted and be healed.
I got a precept. John 6:63, it is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life.
Straight. It's the word. That's how it's word being mingled with faith, man. That's how, and that's a gift as well that you receive. And that's how it takes root, and then it's a done deal.
I got one other one. Ezekiel 34 and 11. For thus saith the Lord power, Yahweh, behold, I, even I, will both search my sheep and seek them out, as a shepherd seeketh out his flock in the day that he is among his sheep that are scattered. So will I seek out my sheep and will deliver them out of all places where they have been scattered in the cloudy and dark day.
Yeah, they're all basically going to be gathered. That's goes into Amos 9, which we'll get in a bit as well. How it says, they'll be sifted, but not the least grain's going to fall. Because it's those that of the elect are going to be found, really even in the kingdom. Even the 2/3 are going to come back. We got it back in
Verse,
Ezekiel.
so I read verse 10 again.
Yeah.
So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army.
Yeah, because
Revelations.
that's what happened with the breath taking root. Then once it takes root, then hey, Jake in that state, that's what brings terror upon the heathen, and that's why brother's gonna get they prefer that they desire for Jake to stay in that broken down, destroyed state, because hey, once Jake's in their right mind and I have Yahweh Shem Shai is working with them, hey, it's cold. They know they can't do anything against it. This has been known, that it's recorded in the scriptures. They already knew these things. All the neighbors of the Israelites. You got it?
Yeah, Revelations 11. I'll get straight to the point because you spoke on the earlier verses. Revelations 11:11. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them.
Yeah, great fear, the same thing. Same as Wisdom of Solomon 5.
Yeah.
It's basically once Jake has that understanding, once they know who they are, then it's a done deal, man. Because it's already known. Jake is basically been separate, man. They've been holy from the jump, and when they're operating within that, then there's nothing the heathen can do against them.
Just as the Ammonite, Moabite or the Ammonite
Yeah, it was a Moabite
emissary.
talking to the Ammonite.
Yeah, Moabite talking to the Ammonite emissary or something of that nature. Where he's basically saying, look, you can't beat these people if they in the good stead with their power. And it was basically that blasphemy in the eyes of the Moabite king. But it was the real. Alright?
Mm-hmm.
You should have hollered at Eglon, man.
Yeah.
His forefathers.
Yeah. Continuing Ezekiel.
Verse 37 and verse
11.
11, I thought so. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord power, Yahweh. Behold,
for that it says what the bones of the whole house of Israel, because both northern and southern kingdom, and it's like that disparity. That's something as well that is being mended through the breath, because more or less it's something Israel and Judah coming back together. That's something that's not been seen since back in the time of King Rehoboam. Way back when Jacob was still in the land. So as such, then it's what they're that's something that needs to happen through the spirit for that basically to be mended.
Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord power, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel.
Yeah, and it's through the prophecy. That's how they're being resuscitated, being brought back to life, receiving hydration, receiving breath, receiving the means of basically being able to move. And it's like on the key part is with like teaching on the streets and the 12 tribes saying, because those are things that, and that's why it's like as well like the whole house coming back together, and that's why it's like if someone's talking smack about saying, oh, these guys aren't part of the tribes, saying, oh no, them Ephraimites, no, they're not on there, then it's they're talking nonsense, because that bringing all the tribes back together, the house of David being rebuilt, that's key. And that's why it's what with go out with a sign, prophesy to their face, and that's part of the draw. That's part of what will bring them and be there like, oh. And that's why as well with like as far as in Revelation it mentioned as well, they didn't suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves, and they, just watched them 3 days and a half. Esau basically kept Jake. The heathen conspired to keep Jake in that destroyed state.
Psalms 83.
Because
Psalms 2.
Yeah, that's as far as for them, it's to their benefit. They're the ones who gain off it.
And that's why if you read in Revelations 11, previously it said, for these two prophets tormented them all the days of their life, basically. So we read this, it's funny because I keep thinking of Nas and Ephah, piss on me, shit on me, spit on my grave, talk about me, laugh behind my back, be in my face, just well. Yeah, that's the heathen, man. Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?
Yeah.
Cover the faces.
Cover the faces of the judges. Basically kept them in that state as well. Okay. Esau's basically he was the one who gained from all this. He kept himself in that position of prominence, man. Could have had mercy on Jake, could have let them know who they were, and didn't. And this is in the ledger for his judgment.
Mm. Verse 13. And ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. And shall put...
You read that one already, yeah?
No.
Oh, wait, no.
And shall put...
Okay, yeah, go on, continue on.
And shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, the Lord, have spoken it, and performed it, saith the Lord.
Yeah, so that's why it's like the spirit that needs to be put in you, man, for that breath. Because otherwise, it's the pure understanding of the scriptures ain't going to come. Because as far as for the Bible's been out. That's been something that's been read. But then it's what? Having the spirit there to get the understanding from it. And that's what's not been, what's not been there. That's the thing that prophesying brings about. Again.
I've got a quick precept. It's the book of Isaiah 25:7. And he will destroy in its mountain the face of the covering cast over all the people, and the veil that is spread over all nations.
Yeah, that confusion, that misunderstanding, that's going to be done away with. It's going to be, that's the thing, it's with that understanding, that's the jump off point. Because otherwise, it's still in the grave, man.
Read on, it says, verse 8, he will swallow up death in victory, and the Lord Yahweh will wipe away tears from off all our faces. He'll swallow up death in victory. That's on 1 Corinthians 15 chapter. Oh, death, where is thy sting? Because we're going to go from mortal beings to mortal, right? And that's how ultimately the veil is being destroyed at this point in time. That's why we can break down the scriptures, because we have the gift of the Holy Spirit to interpret these things correctly. But then ultimately it's going to come full circle when the second covenant comes into play, and it will be changed in the twinkling of an eye, just like that, right? And then it says also, wipe away the tears of all our faces. That's in the book of Revelations. It says the Lord shall take away all tears, and you shall never feel pain again. So reading on, it says, in the rebuke of his people shall he take away from off all the earth, for the Lord hath spoken it. Alright? So we ain't going to be cursed no more. And it shall be said in that day, lo, this is our power. We have waited for him, and he will save us. This is the Lord Yahweh. We have waited for him. We will be glad and rejoice in his salvation. So I'll head back to Ezekiel. It's the book of Ezekiel 37. And
we'll read 14 again.
14. And shall put my and shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, the Lord Yahweh, have spoken it and performed it, saith the Lord Yahweh.
Yeah, so us being placed in our land, that's going to happen at the end as well. Because as far as right now, it's that's why, you know, we can't be jet setting flying over to that now, because it's been defiled. It's gonna need cleansing, and that's gonna come about in the destruction where it's gonna be cleansed. Then, you know, we're gonna go there and it's gonna be set up in righteousness. Go on.
Verse 15, the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand.
Yeah. So when, you know, that's why we have all 12 tribes upon the sign, because you know, the tribes were split. They'll basically split. So they'll split between the two kingdoms. But then what? Through this word, it's what bringing it all together, and it's like the 12 tribes sign. That's how that's being taught, because it's like, then if you were to just go and talk to a random, especially over here in the UK, you try and talk to like a random Colombian or a random Mexican or a random Zebulonite, they're not really going to be looking at you like you're both coming from the same lineage, the same root. But that's how it is. That's why you have the sign there. That's there to basically bring these things into remembrance, man.
I feel like the first thing I'll say is "Que pasa?" Que pasa?
You had to speak some Spanish, man.
Yeah, I couldn't resist. What's the matter?
Huh?
To say to you, what's the matter? Que pasa? I got a precept. Isaiah 13:2. Lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go to the gates of the nobles. Now the banner is being spoken of is a Bible, but written obviously inside of the banner is Ezekiel 37 being a sign. And usually when they see us, right, along with the garment, the Bibles, the exalting of our voices, they see the sign. And that's part of the lifting up of the banner, because that's part of the word, alright? Because that's why it made me think about it as well, said to go into the gates of the nobles. Apostle Ramla basically mentioned it, but the apostles have mentioned it on various occasions, where basically they said that a guy in a limousine pulled up, and an Edomite, and basically said like, look, how did you find out this information? And basically High Priest Ariel said it on a tape, and basically said like, we paid big money to keep this information from getting out. But that's it. This information, they've done that through the Spirit, because it's gonna get to a point where it's like, look, man, it's gonna be like Moses and Aaron going before Pharaoh, alright? And this word is really bringing us to the gates of the nobles right now. These live streams, the internet, the unicorn pushing us together. That's how we're getting, brought to the gates of the nobles. So back in Ezekiel 37 and verse 17, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in thine hand, in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even the stick of Judah, and will make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand.
Yeah, so they're gonna try and, that's the thing that piques the interest, the sign. They're basically trying to get understanding, because most people that come up, they'll see themselves on the sign. They'll be like, yo, what's going on? And then they'll ask, then you start to chop it up, and then hey, the Spirit might take root, it might not. We've read it before, whether they hear or whether they forbear. Go on.
Quick precept, Jeremiah 50 and 33. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Lord Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were pressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Alright, and that's everything we're breaking down previously. about them holding, they fastened their seatbelt around us. All right, they didn't want to let us go. Their Redeemer is strong. The Lord Yahweh of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. So back in the book of Ezekiel 37, and 19, I believe. No, 21. No,
it'll be
20.
20.
20. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes.
Yeah, you're gonna see them before their eyes. Because why? Because you'll be on the street as well.
Isaiah 30 and 20.
Yeah, you're gonna have it.
The prophet shall not be removed to a corner no more, the eye shall see them.
Yeah, you're gonna have it on a poster on your wall, and then someone walking down the street is gonna stick their head and be like, "Yeah, mate, what's that about?" You're gonna be out on the street, chop it up face to face. And that's why it's there. It's the draw, and that's a heavy spirit. That's why it's something that's constant conversation topic within Israel as well. People trying to come against you. Had hella clowns basically trying to add or change or take away or mess with him. But then what? That's a key part. That's a big way that understanding's been gained. Go on.
All right.
The thing is, like anyone, if you think when you come in, it's like you see the sign. That's just something that sticks out in your mind, man. Probably visualize it in your mind right now. Seen it so many times.
Yeah.
But go on.
Verse 21. And say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, Yahweh, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land.
Yeah, that's what this word's about. It's basically bringing back Israel together in the true understanding of the scriptures, and then what? Getting us into our land, man. Basically, the Lord basically tiding us through. The time of Jacob's trouble, out of
Temptation.
Out of temptation, that time of tribulation. And then receiving the reward. We'll be back in our land. Because now we're serving a punishment. And that's part of understanding as well, knowing the truth. It's realizing, okay, we're playing out a punishment. We got a job to do. We basically have a role to fill presently. And then we have to endure until time is such that, it's basically famine of the word. And then that time of tribulation, man, endure through that.
I will bear the indignation of the Lord, as it tells you in Micah. And I will make them one nation, verse 22, and I will make them one nation in a land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all.
Yeah, so, the one king, obviously Yahushua is going to be over everyone, but then David's going to be what? The king on the earth, in the flesh. And then it says it won't be no longer two tribes, it's just going to be one. Because basically Israel's coming back together. You're having that closing the breaches where it's like, all the tribes are back together, and they're no longer going to be a point in time where the tribes are going to be separated. Because that's why it's bringing everything into perfection. Go on.
Verse 23, neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them, so shall they be my people, and I will be their power.
Yeah. Yeah, basically all the things that brought Jake into that state of being a dry bone, and all the things cause Jake to wander out the way of understanding, all that's going to be done away with. Those are going to be former things. Because as of now, it's like with, plantation Christianity, with wandering after all, wandering after having a love affair with a heathen, all these other things, basically not dealing with Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, not following the laws. These things are basically that what's keeping Jake from basically getting into the kingdom, and all that's basically going to be sloughed off because we're going to be perfected, and we're basically no longer going to be able to even partake in those things. And then that's why we're going to be able to deal with Yahweh Shai directly, because it's going to be we're basically going to be perfected.
Yeah, reading on verse 26. More.
Let me.
Go ahead.
Verse 26. Well, I don't think it's 26 next. It'll be 24.
20.
But
It's a lot. I don't know what I was doing. Okay.
Amos 9 and 9 says, "For lo, I will command, I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth." Yeah, that's what basically has been done. It's those, for now, it's the elect are basically the ones being dealt with. But then what is and really it's coming from the whole earth as well, because you're gonna have Israelite foreigners amongst them. But then what it's weird. His phone is having a fit. So it says what
Satan.
go on. I will sift the house of Israel among all nations. So it says, verse 10, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake. It's back.
Back, yeah.
Cool. I think it's the heat.
In the room.
ELB. No.
No,
Because my phone is getting hella hot.
it's all this hot bars are dropping up.
Yes. That is absurd. I don't know how I got that hot.
It's probably the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
All the hotspot. We've been doing it for quite a while, so
Yeah,
it makes
probably
sense.
that.
Let's we'll really go through it then. Ezekiel 37:24.
Well, let me finish Amos,
Go ahead.
because there's one more verse. If Amos 9 and 10 says, "So all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say that evil shall not overtake nor prevent us." That's how the Lord's going to get down. And it says, "In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old." And that's basically how the Lord's going to be dealing with Jake, building them back together, building that house, and making it perfect. So it's no longer going to be broken apart. And as well, it's more or less, that's how Jake's going through that state of being a dry bone to being, receiving that breath. Because, verse 9 started with, them being sifted out. Then what afterwards? You receive the breath, you receive the understanding. Then basically enduring through onto the kingdom. But go on, finish off Ezekiel.
37:24. And David my servant will be king over them, and they all shall be have one shepherd.
Yeah.
They shall all slap.
Blue Letter Bible's actually just not open.
Bro, I'm telling you, it's
actually saying. Okay. Read it again, Slap.
and David my servant shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them.
Yeah. So that one shepherd, because King David's going to be there in the flesh, on the earth under Yahweh Shai, and then what we're going to have received those new bodies, like the brother mentioned. How we'll have the laws put on our inward parts.
Take away the stoning out.
Yeah. And then basically never be able to go off again.
And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherewith my fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever, and my servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them.
Well, for that as well, it's basically we're going to be able to dwell in righteousness, man. And it's something where the land does need to be cleansed. So it's like for the present time, if we were to just go there, there's all kind of madness, man. You'll get somewhere, you come in a room, there's gonna be vile demonic acts that were being done in that room before you even stepped in there. All those things are gonna have to be washed away by fire, and then that's when we'll be able to dwell.
Alright. Moreover, I'll make a covenant, verse 26, I'll make a covenant. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore.
Yeah. Well, read one more verse as well.
Yeah, my tabernacle also shall be with them. Yea, I'll be their power, and they shall be my people.
Yeah. So it's like we're no longer gonna need, the things we had before to intercess, like the Ark of the Covenant or the temple, the Holy of Holies. These things, because basically that way of dealing is going to be done, because we're going to be perfected, because we're going to have those new bodies, and we're not going to be able to go off. Then we'll be able to deal with Most High and Yahushua directly. And gun. Because that's more or less the role that those officers served. But gun.
So I was looking for a precept. Oh, okay, I found it. Revelation 21 and 22. And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord power almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it.
Yeah, that's basically why there's no temple's going to be needed. It's basically the relationship is going to be direct. Because before that's things were needed to to maintain a relationship, but it's gonna no longer be needed, man. That really shows how this, what with the first covenant is like it's kind of a patchwork.
Needed the mediation of the Levites and the high priests
Various
between us and the
systems,
Heavenly
innit,
Father. Yeah. But
and then Jake couldn't even maintain that.
Yeah. I read this one more verse and go back. Verse 23, and the city had no need for the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of the Most High did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof.
You didn't need any other form of understanding. And that's really the same thing. It's just the breath, that life, that pure understanding, the truth. That's basically all that's needed to sustain, man. That's how you maintain the state of liveliness anyhow.
Verse 27, my tabernacle, verse 28, and the heathen shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh to sanctify Israel. My sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore.
Yeah. You're basically going to be dealing with Jake, and it's not going to, ain't going to fall on the heathen. You're not just going to have Elam raise up after a little while, and then the Lord's going to be dealing with them. It's going to be something that only Jake can do. And they're the only ones that are going to be being dealt with.
God.
That's really, and that's how it's going to be, and it's what forevermore. Because, hey, that's how it's going to be. That's how the world's going to be set. Because that's the order it was meant to be in. But then, hey, the Lord had it play out in this manner, so we could get what I mentioned earlier, that pure, the true understanding of both good and evil, to be a perfect judge. But yeah, was there anything?
Nah.
We can close out.
Mm-hmm.
Say, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Arukah Kodash. Don't want to see apostles and elders, great most in the rule one. Shalom, shalom to the hopeful elect.
Kwame Shalom.
Kwame Shalom.